Hello, welcome to the Root to Success, where we share real stories of leadership, resilience, and the choices people make when they step into purpose, often without a clear roadmap. Today's conversation is thoughtful, grounded, and practical. I'm joined by Chantel Scherer, Executive Director of the Nassau Humane Society, which would be my dream job, except I'd bring them all home. Chantel brings a unique leadership perspective shaped by a global career, deep experience in communications, and a strong belief that nonprofits must be run with both heart and business discipline, a belief we share. Chantel's journey spans professional sports, international business in London, public service during COVID, and now nonprofit leadership in animal welfare. Throughout it all, her work has stayed mission-driven, collaborative, and focused on impact. Chantel, thank you so much for being here today and for the work you do every day.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
All right. So I have so many questions because you've honestly, I think, probably lived the life I wanted to live. International business, London, golf. It sounds amazing. But here is one of the things that I absolutely resonate with you. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have a deeper conversation is your career path is not linear. Mine's not linear either. And I love that we both share that because I think it brings so much to nonprofit leadership.
Yeah.
So when you look back, what through line connects all of these chapters of your life?
Yeah, what a great question. And I think growing up, you were always asked, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? When you're going into high school or you're thinking about going to college, people in your life, older people always ask you that. And I honestly never could answer that. My sister would always say, I'm going to be the first female president. She knew that from like the age of 8 or 9, and I would be asked and I could never answer it. And then I became quite good at golf. So then my father told me, you're going to be a golf pro. So I said, okay, right? So even when I went to university, I changed my major about 4 or 5 times, walked out with economics, walked in with the idea that I was going to be a horticulturist because of the golf side of things. So I honestly never planned anything. But now looking back on it, thinking about what is the connection, I think as a person, I'm always up for a challenge, and I'm always up for improving and learning and trying new things. And I think when I look back, that's what has happened. I never took a job because I thought it would be something I would be good at. I always accepted or went for roles that would be a challenge and that I knew that I would learn and that I would continue developing. I read self-help books. I start them. Sometimes I don't finish them. I'm constantly seeking, how can I be more? How can I be better? And I think that's how the career did this, and it's brought me to where I'm at today.
Chantel, I agree with you 110%, 1,000%, which you don't need me to agree with you at all. You're an independent woman, but I agree. And I have tackled life the same way. It's always been, what is this next opportunity going to bring? What does this adventure look like? What can I learn?
Yeah.
Everything is like, what can I learn? And I love that. And I will say with the self-help books, I do start them. I don't always finish them. I just got to move to the next. I get that. Okay. I always say it's the effort that counts. You describe yourself as a reluctant leader who prefers collaboration over hierarchy. What does collaborative leadership look like in practice at Nassau Humane Society?
Some days it looks really, really collaborative, and some days maybe not so much. So as a leader, ultimately, I am the decision maker, right? And sometimes those decisions are tough decisions. But what I try to do is hire people that have better skills than I do, are experts in areas that I'm not an expert, so that when we do have to make decisions, it becomes collaborative because I need them. I cannot make them on my own. And if I did try to do that, it's only going to backfire. So I always try to surround myself with people with differing and better skills and experience. So I think by doing that, I create that team around me so that when we do have to make changes or there are decisions, it becomes a conversation. And that's what I try to do. And my door is always open. I encourage my team to come and share ideas. I am not precious. I don't own all the right ideas, and I tell them that. I share with them my work and ask for feedback. Sometimes I don't like it, but I know that it makes me a better leader, or it makes the project or whatever it is that we're doing better. So to me, that's what it means. And I have always done that throughout my career, even when I wasn't the ultimate leader, but I might be leading a team, or as that reluctant leader, I kind of am the go-to person in a team, and the people are coming to me for answers. I had a colleague once when I was working at Samaritans, which is a suicide prevention charity in the UK and Republic of Ireland. And he was quite a bit younger than me. I was in my kind of late 30s. And he said to me, Chantel, you're the type of person, if the building caught on fire, people would ask you where to go. And I went, oh, because I never saw myself that way. Yes, I was running a team at that point, a communications team and fundraising, but I never saw myself that way. I've never looked at myself as a leader. So that's why I say I'm a reluctant leader. I think when you are good at your job, you get promoted into a leadership position. And sometimes that works out and sometimes that doesn't, because I think leaders have a different mindset. And maybe that's why I found myself in those roles, even though I probably didn't seek them out.
That makes complete sense. I've always hired for my weaknesses, and that sounds like what you have done as well. It's like, if I don't have that skill, if I can't do that, that's what I'm hiring for, right? To fill that void, because we can't, as leaders, we can't be the be all, know it all, end all. I feel like we're the conveners, the people that are really good at bringing everybody together and then saying, here's the challenge, and then mediating so that everybody is heard and the best solution comes together. And it sounds like that's definitely your approach.
Absolutely. That made me just think of something. When I was at university, I went to an Illinois state school. I was there on scholarship playing golf, and I was not the best golfer on that team. I'll just put that out there. All 4 years, I was not the best golfer. But my golf coach always used to call me the catalyst for the team, because it's that convener role, right? And if someone was feeling a bit down, I'd be like, hey, what's wrong with you today? Come on, let's go play together. We'll play 9. And I joke around and laugh and get them out of their bad mood. And I'm convinced that she brought me along to some of the tournaments just for that role. And she knew that maybe my score wasn't going to count in the tournament, right? But I was there as that convener and bringing the team together and making us a team.
Right, but that's so powerful, so powerful.
Well, when you're 18 to 21, you think, rats, I'm not playing the best golf. I'm not the best golfer. You don't realize. And when she used to tell me that, I'd be like, oh, Pam, I dismiss it. But now at 55, I can look back and be like, yes, that is powerful. And that's important to identify those people wherever you're working, to put them into that position and play on their strengths.
Agreed. Okay, so question. You spent 25 years in London, which would be my dream, working in high-level communications and policy environments. How did that experience shape the way you approach leadership and decision-making today? And I also would throw in there, especially because obviously then you would be navigating so many different cultures too.
Yeah. So, how did that shape me? I grew up in a family-owned business, which was a golf course, which is why I started playing golf. And as soon as I left university, I moved to Florida and became a golf professional, joined the PGA of America, and was working in a nice resort here. And man, I thought I knew it all. I mean, of course, I'm 20, I moved here in 1992, so I was 22, and I thought I knew it all. So when I moved to London in 96, I realized I knew nothing, right? And then I realized that the cultures, even though we speak English, we do not speak the same language. And the cultures are quite different, particularly in the workplace. So I was fortunate, and I can say that now, I don't think I would have said that back in 1996, that I didn't have any point of comparison. right? I'd never worked in a corporate job. I had always worked in sport, right? I was a golf pro. I was teaching golf lessons to people who were at the resorts. I was running clinics with 200 people in them, that type of thing. I wasn't in an office environment. So when I did move into an office environment, I had nothing to compare it to. So I quickly assimilated to the British way of business. I think where I have struggled is when I moved back. So I moved back in 2021. And by all practical purposes, I'm British because I grew up there. My career has been there. So it was a learning curve. And there are differences in that culture, which probably I've now had to adjust to. So I think in British leadership, it's quite consensual. There's lots of discussions. You know, if you watch any of the British politics, there's an inquiry for everything. It's bringing people together to discuss what works and what doesn't. And I'm not saying that's not the way it is in America, but I think they overboard that. Whereas here, we're very outcome focused and, promoting and developing skill sets. And it's a slightly different approach. And I think that I benefited from learning maybe the softer way at first to then coming over here and remembering that softer side, but then having really definitive targets that I had to reach. And how do I get a younger generation who's different to me, has very different experiences than I've had? How do I get them to enjoy their job, to do it well, and to follow me? And that has been probably my biggest career challenge, has come at the latter part of the career. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I was relating to you so much. So I don't know if I shared with you, I went to 8th and 9th grade at a British school. And so I had to learn the British education system. And then, as you said, we all speak English, but we don't all speak English. Learning that different vocabulary and navigating it. And honestly, as minuscule as my experience was compared to yours, it impacted me so profoundly and so positively. I think it's such a blessing when you get to experience all these different cultures. And I would say it's made you a stronger leader. 100%.
Well, definitely it has. I would agree with that. And I don't think at the time I even realized that. It's now when you can look back on a career that you start to be like, you know what? That was a really good thing that I got given those opportunities.
Right.
My dad used to tell me I was the type of person who could step in a pile of poo, come out smelling like a rose, right? And when I was a child, I thought, he's right. When I look back on my career, it's chance opportunities that I would meet someone. In 1997, I'd been there just a little over a year. I organized a lunch reception with the American Chamber of Commerce for the Queen of England and the Duke of Edinburgh. I got to meet them both. Now, how in the world did that happen? Well, a lady that I was giving golf lessons to when I first moved over there saw a job opportunity come up at the American Chamber of Commerce in London, said, you'd be amazing at it. So I thought, yeah, all right, I'll check it out. Boom, I get it, right? And that just starts to lead to a succession of amazing opportunities that I never would have had the opportunity to have had I not, I guess, just tried and just said, okay, I'm going to go for that and be willing to take a risk. And wow, that's changed my career immensely because of the different types of people I got to interact with. I got to work with the Prime Minister during COVID. I mean, who would have thought a girl from Central Illinois was going to do that, right? I certainly, when I was asked, what do you want to do when you grow up, never could have imagined that this would have been my life.
I love it. I love it. So before I start asking questions about your current position, my daughter did ask me to ask you one question today.
Yes.
So my daughter loves animals. Let me just say it. She's always grown up and worked around animals. And when she found out that you were at the Nassau Humane Society, we were on a walk watching lizards too. She wanted to know, do you ever take in exotic animals?
We do sometimes, but we don't seek that out. We're not experts. What we would do is if an animal or an exotic animal were in danger or in need, we would take them to make sure they had the basics, but we would be seeking an expert. So we've had bunny rabbits, we've had raccoons, we've had squirrels, we've had turtles, right? But we don't keep them long because we're cat and dog specialists. And I guess it's recognizing your strengths, right? And weaknesses.
Yes. I thank you for answering and indulging me, because she was like, Mom, ask her. And this is my 22-year-old too, that was like, Mom, ask. And I was like, okay.
We do.
So, all right. And yes. Okay. Good to know. And I'll tell you, the lizard watching in Miami is incredible, but we probably think that because we just moved here. So that's why we're so entertained. So at the Nassau Humane Society, you operate multiple revenue generating programs, which huge kudos to you. I talk about that till I'm blue in the face with nonprofits. You've got to have that, including resale stores that support the shelter's mission. Why do you believe nonprofits must run like a business to remain sustainable?
Well, because they are businesses, right? Just because we're a 501c3 status and we have different tax implications, right? We're still businesses. We answer to a board. We have a responsibility for the staff that we employ, as well as the mission of the organization. So in our case, it's all the cats and dogs in our care. If we did not run as a business, I don't believe that we could take care of them like we do. And I can't take credit for the fact that we have the 2 resale stores. They were here. They predated me. I started in April of 2024. But one of the things that I believe, take credit for is I was hired specifically to professionalize the organization and to make it run like a business. So the board had recognized through a succession of executive directors, and we've had a little bit of the history here with that we weren't functioning at the best of our ability. We weren't doing some of the things that the board wanted us to do. So I was headhunted, right? I was contacted by an executive search firm here in Jacksonville, Florida. And I didn't even know Nassau Humane Society existed, even though I lived on Amelia Island from 1992 to 96. And they were here. I didn't know they were here. So that was a first kind of red flag to me. So becoming here in situ, I have professionalized the way we do our finances. We're going to sit our first audit at the end of this financial year. Now, for a nonprofit, I think that's essential, is that you can demonstrate to your donors that you're being responsible with the money that they give you, right? And if you don't have audited accounts, there's really no qualified way to say that you've spent it properly. So we put ourselves under scrutiny for that, and no doubt we will have some things raised during our first audit, but then that's how we learn, right? Because our desire is to be able to demonstrate 100% that we're putting the money exactly where it needs to be, and that's into the animals. And so with the stores as well, it's about professionalizing them. And when they were started in 2012, they literally started as a tick and flea kind of garage sale. So people, the community, would bring all of the things they didn't want anymore, their clothing, their records, their sheets, their pots and pans, all of the kind of stuff that we hoard and put away and think I'm gonna do something with that. And they opened it up to the community to buy, and all the money obviously came back to the shelter. In 2012, they took their first store. So they had a brick and mortar store. And at the time, it was 100% run by volunteers. Which is amazing, right? That's amazing. And they were, bringing in maybe $100 a day and all of that. But over the years, we've grown into a major business. There are small businesses here on this island that would love to have our turnover. Now, we are blessed with, we don't have to buy stock, right? It's all donated. But we have to run it like a business so that we maximize the money that we do make, because 100% of it after costs, so our staff and, rent and that all comes here to the shelter and supports the cats and dogs. We couldn't do what we do without the two stores. So professionalizing them has been something that I have been focusing on, and that's driving our income, looking at how we do our pricing strategies, looking at how we lay the stores out. We want to be seen as a resale store, not a thrift store.
Right.
And so it's always that fine balance of how do we make that distinction? What types of items do we put out in the store? If we want to be a resale store, we can't put broken items. We can't put dirty items. And all of that has been a change to the way that the stores have run here. And it's really starting to work. And I think then the second strand to that is to get the staff in there that have the passion for the mission, because you have to love the cats and dogs and want to be a part of it, because it's hard work, right? Our stores are hard work. They're busy. You're moving furniture around. You're moving donations around. So you have to love the cause. But we also want people in there that are true customer service focused, because we are a community store. So you come and shop with us, Sarah. If we don't treat you right, you're not coming back. So, and it's a small community that we're in. So it's finding those people, and then it's finding those people with the business experience that can support the strategy of what we're trying to do. Because I can't do it all. So I have to hire people who've got that know-how, that merchandising, that retail experience, pricing, marketing, all of that to keep driving the stores.
Yeah, no, definitely. You said so many things. The first thing that I feel like I just need to underline, put in bolds, all caps, customer service is everything. And what so many businesses don't understand is customer service actually starts at the curb, not inside the business.
Correct.
And so, and in small communities, you are so right. Word of mouth is everything. What is the saying? If something bad happens, you tell 10 people, but if something good happens, you tell nobody. And I probably have those numbers off, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, and I don't know about the rest. Excuse me. I'm getting over that cold. We have a platform here called Nextdoor, and I know it's national.
Yes.
And it's very popular here on Amelia Island. And the minute something doesn't go the way someone wants, they take to Nextdoor. And it's so sad because they're hurting the cats and dogs. They might have been treated, or something happened, or they didn't agree with the change that we might be making. But it's like, look at the bigger picture. But we don't anymore. People take to social media. So we have to be over customer service focused to make sure that we don't have people leave disgruntled.
Exactly. Social media is a curse and a blessing all at the same time.
Absolutely.
You oversee a leadership structure with directors managing distinct parts of the organization. How do you balance guidance, trust, and development as you help leaders grow into their role?
Yeah. I think I'm a teacher at heart, right? What I loved most about being a golf professional was teaching golf. So I have maintained that kind of approach throughout every role that I've had. Here at Nassau Humane Society, I have 2 directors, and then here at the shelter, 5 managers, and they all look after a different part of the business. And I think the first thing that I do is, trust has to be earned, of course, but I start from a place of trust, right? Until I am proven or someone is proven not to be trustworthy, I start from there. And I start from a place of support. So it's, when we're looking at goals and objectives and ways of doing things, I'm there in a supportive role. I might put the destination out there. I might say, right, in the next year, we need to have done X, but I do not tell that person how to get to X. Now, there are milestones and pit stops along the way, and I sit down with my directors every week, and it's, how are you? Give me the highs and the lows. What can I help you with? So we talk about things, but I leave it to them to take ownership. That doesn't mean that if I see them getting off piece, I don't say, hey, what's going on with this? Do you need some support? Has something happened? I ask a lot of questions, but I really think it's giving them ownership. That way they learn, and they also I think give 100% when they feel like it's their baby. I did that this year with one of my team. I handed over our largest fundraising event and our longest serving fundraising event. I said, it's over to you. This is your baby this year. And you know what? She blew it out of the water. She did. She did amazing. And so this year she gets it again. And I'm giving her something else to take ownership of. And I think that is how I approach it. And I've not been too disappointed in my career by that approach. Of course, I've gotten it wrong sometimes, but overall, I think it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, I agree. I use a very similar leadership. A lot of times if I have a foundation or a baseline to share, I'll be like, here's the baseline, here's the foundation, what's been done in the past. Here's what it needs to look like at the end.
Yeah.
Let me know what questions you have along the way.
Yeah. And it's a fine line, right? Because some people love autonomous working and will just get on with it. Then you have some people who maybe need that little extra pair of supportive hands and maybe aren't as proactive. So they need a little nudge here and there. I like to call it encouragement instead of a nudge, but it's really a nudge. And so it's understanding your team and what they need. So they're all going to need something different. And I think that is makes me think of something else. I have to adjust my leadership / management style to the individual. They don't adjust the way they work to me. And that's what makes being a leader so hard. I think partly.
100%. You have to adjust how you communicate, how you manage everything for each individual person, because you're so right. It's on us as the leaders to make that, to be adaptable and to pivot and to change and to meet our team with exactly what they need, when they need it, where they are.
Yes.
And that it's so hard and so exhausting, but so rewarding.
Oh, absolutely rewarding. And you're right, it is exhausting because people change, right? So you think you've sussed it out, and then they've gone along and changed something. So you're constantly, it's like being, you talked about the lizards. It's like being a chameleon, right? We do have to constantly be evolving ourselves to fit with whoever's in front of us might need. And we have volunteers here, which require the same thing to a degree. And I love people. So that part of it is good, but it can be exhausting. Yes.
Yeah. And it's so refreshing to hear somebody else say, it's on me as a leader to change and be the leader that individual person needs. It's so refreshing to hear that. Okay, so question. I was actually speaking to another nonprofit leader about this morning. So I'm curious to hear about you. Many nonprofit leaders struggle with ego, burnout, or feeling they must carry everything alone. And just for full disclosure, I've struggled when I was a nonprofit leader with burnout and feeling that carrying everything alone. So that resonates with me. What helped you, and I don't even think this is fair to say to you, check your ego at the door, because, and I mean this with complete positivity and consideration, you don't have an ego. You're a wonderful, amazing human. So, but how do you lead in a way that feels grounded and human and balances out the possibility of burnout?
Well, everyone has an ego. We all have an ego. And I work very hard, and I always have done, to not let my ego take over, because we all do have one. And I get it right sometimes, and I get it wrong sometimes. I think the older I get, the easier it is to check the ego. I think when we're young, and full disclosure, I'm probably a bit of a pleaser as a personality type, right? So I probably, when I was younger, had to work harder at checking that ego. But I do try to check it every single day. What helps me with the burnout? I think for me, it's always remembering why I'm sat at this desk and why I'm talking to you today. It's the mission of our organization. Like you and your daughter, I always wanted to work with animals. I have always loved them. I've always been a bit of a soft heart to any stray. I was always picking strays up and bringing them home and all of that. I think in my mind, I thought I would be living in Kenya and working with elephants. That is where, as I got older, I thought my career would go to. But again, it's not linear, right?
Right.
So I keep that in mind. But also, I ask for help when I need it. So I have an executive coach who has helped me prioritize, stay focused. And I'm just going to say it, it's very lonely at the top. I can't moan, groan, and complain to any of my team. That would be really unprofessional. And so I can't do that. So I go to the board when I need help. But I use my executive coach, and he helps me put it into perspective, because when you are on your own, perspective is everything. And what feels like it might be urgent maybe really isn't. It might be important, but it might not be urgent. And in the heat of it, and when the emotions are involved, especially when dealing with a cat or a dog, you sometimes lose perspective. So that is something that I work very hard at. In fact, that's probably what I work the hardest at, is keeping a work-life balance. And sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't. Not taking home the negativity, because it can be quite negative. And keeping my eye on the prize, right? It's finding homes for all of the homeless cats and dogs. And every day, if we find just one home, it's all worth it.
Right.
But it's hard.
I love that you said you work with an executive coach. As something that I would say in my very first, sorry, I had to go back in time. In my very first leadership role, I had the opportunity to work with an executive coach. And I honestly, that was the pivoting moment for me that made me step up, learn how to be a leader, learn how to gain that perspective, and learn who to talk to. And so you said so many things there that are so important. So if you are the leader, it is lonely. Your significant other at home doesn't want to hear about it. Your kids don't want to hear about it. Your parents don't want to hear about it. Your friends don't want to hear about it. But getting that executive coach, and then I had an opportunity to be in this pilot group of peers where it was about 5 to 6 nonprofit CEOs, and we all had to sign, confidentiality, all that. But we met then once a month, and we had a piece of training, and then we had time to just talk. And having that peer support and that executive coach, being able to gain that perspective and learn how to ask for help. I had to learn that and still learning. Those are the things that take a good or average leader to excellent. Those are those investments that just keep paying dividends.
Yeah, I do have some peer support. I should have said that. I think I want to look for more, because I think you are absolutely right. We are all experiencing the same but different issues and challenges, right? And I am a collaborative person anyway. And I am a competitive person. I wouldn't have played a professional sport if I wasn't competitive, but I think it's a healthy competition, and I'm more interested in sharing and building up the other person rather than trying to smack them down and beat them. So I think sharing how I've tackled something, or someone sharing how they've done it, it is so important, because because it is lonely. And nobody wants to hear about it. Nobody in my personal circle are tired of hearing about my issues.
Well, and there's just something so rewarding about having those peers and the executive coach, because sometimes with the peers, you just need somebody to vent to, right? You just got to get it out. And that's what those peers are for. Or I would find it so helpful to be able to go to their organization and see and experience and then bring it back. It was so good. All right. So big pivotal question, big question. I hope you're ready. For leaders who feel uncertain about stepping into bigger responsibility, what would you want them to know about growth, resilience, and finding confidence over time?
That is a big question. For me, because that's all I can speak to, I have to believe in what I'm doing, whether it's at a nonprofit or working in an arm's length body of government, or working with government, or working in commercial, right? I've been able to do all of that. And if I don't believe or like what I'm doing, I am not going to be a good leader. I'm just not. I think you also have to have a certain mindset when it comes to leadership. I think you have to have a growth mindset. You have to be open-minded, and you have to know that there are going to be challenges, and there are going to be challenges that you're just not going to know what to do with, especially in the early days. But having said that, it could still hit me. Something could happen tomorrow and I think, I don't know what to do. So I think it's being prepared for challenges and I'm a planner. So I always, whenever we're thinking about a change or doing something, I always think, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? And then what would we do? What is the best thing that can happen? And how would we amplify that? Now that comes from working with government and media, because you never know what you're going to be asked. So you have to have all of the answers.
Right.
So being prepared. And again, it's not just a singular thing. You have to build that team around you. Leadership isn't for everybody, I don't think. I really don't think it is. And I think your good leaders, and I'm not trying to be big-headed here, probably never sought to be leaders.
Yes, I hear I think, let me say it this way. I think I hear and understand what you're saying. The people who seek leadership roles, who are like, look at me, I can be the leader, are typically the ones that will sink the boat.
Yeah.
In my personal experience.
Yes.
But the ones that are more the encouragers, the conveners, the, hey, Chantel, you missed our last meeting last week. I just want to check in. Are you okay? How are things going? What can I do to support you? The people that ask those great questions and bring people together and who never volunteer to be the leaders, those are the leaders that you want.
Thank you for clarifying, because that is exactly what I meant. It's back to that mindset, right? And I think it's also, you cannot be a leader and not be afraid to fail.
Yes.
Because they don't go together. Because you only become good and be a leader and take some, whatever it is you're doing, from one place to another through failure, right? Because you don't get it right the first time. And if anybody says that they did, I think they're fibbing to a degree. There's always something that you didn't go quite right that failed at. And you cannot be afraid of failure.
And you have to be a risk taker.
Yes, yes. And those are hard things to do, especially when you're younger, right? When you haven't maybe set your stall out and your LinkedIn page isn't all full of all the wonderful accomplishments, and you're trying to get noticed, and it's hard. But I think being confident in what your skill set is, so having good self-awareness, being open-minded, willing to fail, willing to learn, willing to take feedback. And we always want constructive feedback, but not everybody gives constructive feedback. But taking that feedback, responding professionally, maybe stepping to one side and thinking, did they have a point? Maybe they delivered it in the wrong way. And I think that's kind of what, if someone's thinking about getting into leadership, the things that they should probably consider. And there's no shame if it isn't for you. There are days that I wonder if it's for me. And I've been doing it now for a long time. And I still sometimes get wobbly knees about it and think I've made a mistake. I'm not sure I want to do this anymore. I think that's natural, but I think it's to have a solid foundation of what you actually can do, makes that a bit easier to handle those bad days.
I couldn't agree more. And I think the fact that you question yourself proves what an amazing leader you are, because I've learned that when we don't question ourselves, am I still the right person for this role? Am I meant to do this? That's when you become complacent and you stall out. But by questioning yourself, you're self-aware and you see the bigger picture.
I try to. It is something that you have to work at. I mean, I don't think it's one and done. It's like, when people talk about what makes you happy, happiness isn't a destination. It's the little things every single day that we do. And being a leader is exactly the same. It's not like you become a leader and I'm there. No. It's almost harder to stay at the top of the mountain than it is just to slide down the other side, right?
It's difficult. Yes. I would say leadership is honestly as hard and challenging and scary as being a parent.
Yes. Yes.
And at least in leadership, there's people. Yes. And at least with leadership, though, there's courses, there's peer groups, there's executive coaches, there's books. But at the end of the day, as you said, it's all about people.
Yeah.
And you're a communication specialist. So you understand how I might say that this is red, but you could hear this is pink. And
Yeah.
having to be able to, and that was a terrible example. That was the only thing I could come up with on the fly. But just being able to manage all of that and that ability to take a risk, fail, and get right back up again to keep going with your team.
Yeah. I had a CEO when I worked at Samaritans, which was the suicide prevention charity that I really looked up to. Her name is Katherine Johnston. She's an MBE now, and she runs a big volunteer organization in the UK. And I always used to say to her, and she put it on my LinkedIn page, which showed me that she heard me and she understood me. I used to say to her, Katherine, communication has only happened if the other person understood what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so she would always stop and go, you're right. Okay, I need to say this differently, because, you know, she would be talking maybe to a family member of someone who had taken their own life, or talking to our volunteers who delivered the service. And so she always had to be very clear with her communication. So whenever I would help her with speech writing or anything, well, no, I want to say it this way. I'm like, Katherine. And she remembered it because she put it on, and she gave me a referral on LinkedIn when I moved back, and she put that in there. And I thought, yes, she heard me.
Right.
And it's true. I can say whatever I want to you. And if you don't understand a word I said, we have not communicated.
Exactly. And being a leader means having the tools to communicate the same message 15 different ways.
Yes. And, you know, everyone's heard this, but I think Stephen Maxwell talks about it a lot. He's a communication specialist, that we have a mouth and two ears, use them in proportion. I mean, every student at university or even in high school in a comms course must be told that, but it's true. Right. Communication is more about listening than it is talking, because then when you do respond, you're saying it, or you're answering a question in a way the person can understand.
Exactly. Yeah. Chantel, I want to thank you so much for being so open about your journey and this amazing conversation. And I want to laugh in the most positive way possible, because everything you said, I just wanted to high five you. I was just like, check. I love, right, virtual. I love the way that you think about businesses, and I love how you're investing your time into your team. I think that's probably the most impactful decision that you could make into running an amazing organization. So if you're in the Nassau area and I have to say this, Chantel does not know I'm going to say this, and you're looking for a fur buddy, I have 2 rescue dogs. I've always had rescue dogs. I highly recommend that you check them out and that you get a rescue buddy, because let me tell you, they're amazing for your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health. My dogs do my daily affirmations in the morning, and then my end of day affirmations with me in the evening. And they're the ones that keep me on that routine. They're so positive. So shout out for those dogs and cats. And if you're looking for a companion, pretty sure Chantel and her team can probably hook you up.
We definitely can. You can see all of the dogs and cats available at NassauHumane.org. It's really simple. Northeast Florida, come and check us out. We'd love to find you your fur baby.
Yes. All right, Chantel, thank you so much. Please give all the dogs and cats scratches for me if you can, or ask your volunteer teams to. And if there's anything I can ever do, or if you ever need to vent, please know I am here, and I will always listen or help any way that I can.
Fantastic, Sarah. I've really enjoyed the chat. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yes. All right. Well, have a wonderful afternoon.
I will. You too. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.